Hey everyone, welcome back. So now that we've found some companies out there that can make the supplements for us, we're going to want to figure out which one of those companies we should go with, right? So the way that we do this is by asking them a bunch of questions and, then we find out which one is the best. So let's go to the interrogation section right now. So let's talk about this one right here. We got privatelabelnutra.com. So before we decide on going with Private Label Nutra, we want to ask them some questions, and here it is. So number one, kind of the first question that I would ask them is, how quickly can you get the product created and shipped to me? How quickly does this process take? What's the turnaround time? This is very important. If they say, hey, we're really backed up right now, this is going to take us 5 months, then I'm just going to say, okay, next, and move on to the next person. So this is a very important question to ask people. Sometimes when you're working with a company, at first it might take them, like say a few days or maybe even up to a week to get you put in their system and work things out. But once you've already ordered, one round of supplements, if you need to restock those and refill it, like you sold all of them, you could usually call them right back up and they could get it done for you, very, very quickly, because now they got you on record, on file, and all that. They got your logo taken care of and all that stuff. But very important question to know, how quickly can you get the product created? Now, a big company like Private Label Nutra and like a lot of the other companies I've mentioned, most of these can get things done for you super, super fast. So no, you're not going to have to wait like a week or a month or something like that. I mean, a lot of times I could contact this company today and maybe even get them to ship out these supplements tomorrow or the next day. So yeah, you can get things done very, very fast here. But it's important to ask them because, again, if they're really booked, if they're packed, maybe it's a busy season, then you may want to say next and move on to the next company. All right, the next question that you should probably ask is, what are the steps for white label or for private labeling with your company? So every company is going to have their own procedures and their own stuff that they want you to do first. So it's just important to ask them, hey, how do I get started with this? Is there anything that you need from me? Do you need me to send you graphics to use for the label? Do you need me to give you certain information or anything like that? Just ask them, hey, how do I get started with white label, private label? What do I got to do? And 99% of the time they'll be like super helpful, let you know exactly what you need to do, and there you go. And if they're not, the 1% that they're a jerk, then move on and go to someone else, right? Okay, the other question that you should always ask them is, what is the minimum, and do you do low minimums, right? If they're telling you that, hey, so if you want to get some supplements made with us, the minimum order has got to be like 5,000 bottles or more. If that's the case, then I'm going to say next. Because, I'm not going to order 5,000 bottles of something if I have no idea if it's going to sell or not on Amazon or how well it does. So ideally, I want to look for a company that I can start off very small. Maybe doing something like 10 bottles, 25 bottles, or 50 bottles or something like that. That's ideally what I like to shoot for. Get a few bottles and then try selling those. And then once, I start making some sales, then go ahead and order a lot more, right? But I don't recommend going out there and buying 10,000 bottles of something if you have no idea how it's going to do. Don't do that. It's just stupid. There's no need for it. Also, the other thing that you can ask them is number 4, which is, do you offer discounts for quantity? And most likely they do. And basically, that's just asking them, hey, what's your price sheet? What's your rates on the supplement? How much would it cost? And yeah, most of the time what's going to happen, they'll say, hey, if you order 10 bottles, then it'll cost you $2. And if you order 50 bottles, then it'll cost you $1.70. But if you order 1,000 bottles, it'll cost you, $1. So it's just really good to know what their prices are and if they offer discounts for quantity. And again, starting off though, you may just, maybe not make as much money, just order 10 bottles, 25 bottles or something like that and, pay a little bit more. but you're way better off than trying to like, buy 10,000 bottles at once. But it's just good to know what their prices are. That way, once you're ready to get things, to really hit the ground hard and buy a lot more bottles, then now you know what the prices are, and then you'll do that. Also, another good question to ask them is, for the label, do they have somebody in-house who does the label design? Can you just ask them to come up with a really cool label? And if so, I would ask them, do you have any samples of any labels you guys have done? Because a lot of times these like manufacturing companies, if you ask them to do the label for your product, it might not come out that good. It might be kind of ugly. So it's a good thing to just ask them to see some samples of something that they've done. If they do a good job, then hey, let them do it and move on. If not, no worries, because we'll talk about in one of the next videos how to get some really amazing labels done for your product. Now, another good question, though, that you can always ask them is, hey, do they have any recommendations for people that do really awesome labels or any of that stuff? Because chances are they already know a lot of people in the industry that do. So just ask them for a recommendation, and they should be more than happy to help you out there. Also, if you're going to do the label here, or if you're going to get another company to do the label, then you'll probably want to know what the dimensions are for that. How big should the label be? How wide should it be? So that's where I just ask them, hey, do you have a template that I can use for the dimensions, or a template that I can use for the bottle, or do you have dimensions of the what the label needs to be? Let me know. If they're making the label for you, then you don't even need to worry about that. But if you're going to make it, then yes, you would want to know that. Also, I guess number 6, which is kind of similar to number 2, but you could just ask them, hey, what do you need from me to get started? Do they need to get certain information from you? Do they need your address? Do they need business information or anything like that? Just ask them, hey, what do you need to get started? Number 7, it might be important to ask them what methods of payment they accept. Some are obviously going to make things a lot easier than others. If they're like, hey, we accept credit cards, we accept PayPal, or, that's nice. If they're like, hey, the only way to pay us is by sending payment through, a fax machine or something like that, then you may want to move to the next company. Okay, it's a really good question to ask them and find out. So then when it comes to shipping out the product, right? So, and you can usually ask them these questions in the beginning or as soon as they get the products done, then you could ask them this question. Either one, that's fine. But let's say that they, got the products made, and now you're going to need to send those products over to Amazon FBA to house it and sell it. So you're going to need to know some of the shipping information. So here are the questions that you can ask them. And again, you could ask them this question in the very beginning before you even sign up to them, or ask them, right after they make it, or, as they're making the product. Okay, here it is. So number 8, what are the dimensions of the package? So let's say they made 25 bottles of supplements for you. Well, you need to know how big that box is that they're going to ship it in, because we're going to need to tell this to Amazon or whatever company you want to use. But I'm guessing you want to use Amazon because that's what I'm going to show you. And so that's why you need to know that information. It's very important. What are the dimensions of the package? How big is it? How wide is it? How heavy is it, right? How many bottles or units per case? So let's say, for example, that you're ordering 25 bottles, and maybe they fit 10 bottles per case or 5 bottles per case. So then you would get, if you're doing 5 bottles per case, then you would get 5 packages of 5 bottles of kelp supplements, right? And you would need to tell that to Amazon. So really important to know this: how many bottles or units per case when they send it out. All right, next, what's the weight of the package? Well, I guess I just mentioned that, so we can skip on to the next one. What is the weight size of each individual product? So the supplements, how much does that weigh? Do they know? Again, this is important because we're going to need this information when we go to list our product on Amazon. And lastly, the 12th question here is you can just ask them, hey, is there anything else that I need to know or anything else that's helpful that you can tell me? You know, you're going to find out that a lot of times these people who are that work at the manufacturer are very, very helpful. They got a lot of great insight, advice, and tips that can be very beneficial. So I'll just ask them questions and listen to what they have to say, and it goes a long way. So there you have it. This right here is the questions that I like to ask companies. So let's move on to the next video.